All right, welcome back to the Family Flex podcast, where we have unfiltered conversations about family, marriage, and mindset.
In today's episode, we're going to discuss navigating a traditional marriage versus modern expectations and what that looks like for us and probably for other couples.
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right.
So, one of the topics that we consistently talk about with our friends and primarily with us is old school traditional marriage. The man goes out to work, does all the manly stuff, pays all the bills. The woman stays home, cooks, cleans, and keeps herself ready so that when I get home, yeah.
That's definitely not what our household looks like at all. But I think we have a combination of traditional roles versus modern expectations. For the most part, we both of us do everything. Would you agree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah. But
But
then there are certain things that I do and that I take pride in to be more traditional, such as like when I cook dinner, I like to serve my husband his plate
she does.
before I serve myself and the kids. I just think that that's kind of how I grew up and just wanting to make sure because you work so hard, I want to serve you first. People may disagree. And I even had somebody say, "You still make your husband his plate?" Yeah, you damn right I do. Like, what?
Why would you not? Who
I
would
don't
ask
know.
that?
Forgot. Somebody asked me that. But then the modern expectation also is I do work too. And so let's put a pin there because I think it's very hard to have traditional expectations when you're a modern working woman and a mother. So that looks different. And I'm not going to be able to do everything. And you will disagree because we've had disagreements about this where you're like, so what that you work? You could still do this, and that. And in my head, I'm like, I work and I don't have a lot of flexibility to a certain extent. So when I get home, there's certain things that I just can't do.
Like what?
Like some nights I just can't cook.
That's fair. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And on those nights, I cook or either I order out. But I think we have that part right. Like we just kind
Mm-hmm.
of go with the flow. One of the things that I feel allows our marriage to work so well is we don't follow traditional standards. Right. There are some things that we do follow. I'm the protector of the house, right? Somebody come knocking on the door, busting through the door. Is it my job to put my life on the line and protect my family, right? It's my job to be the provider and the protector. And
Although I feel like I would do too. I would do that too if I had to.
but she wouldn't have to, right? So that's
Yeah.
easy to say. But trust me, if somebody come through this door, I'm gonna be the first one there, right? And so, but at the same time, I also do the dishes, right? I
Mm-hmm.
also swiffer the floor. And
I've heard that
sometimes when I
plenty of
talk about this with
times.
some of my friends, they're like, bro, don't bring that up in front of my wife because I'm not doing none of that. All right. And so I don't do that because um, you don't do it. I do it because it's just how I was raised. It's just how my mother raised me as I grew up as an only child in a single parent household. And my mother raised me to be present.
I've heard you say that before. That some of your friends will say like, "You do laundry? Like you do?" I don't want to make that voice, but you're like, "Yeah, such and such don't do laundry. They ain't folding clothes. They ain't washing dishes." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, well, do they also work out every day? Do they are they in sports with their kids? Like, is their wife working from home or does she have a job that she goes to? Like, everybody's situation is different. So I think that is where the difficulty in being a little more fluid or, you know,
Yeah.
not having so much rigidity.
So for me, I've had to learn and unlearn certain roles and responsibilities because you're right. Just because you're the woman, everything shouldn't fall on you. And just because I'm the man, everything shouldn't fall on me. So for me, it's really about how do you step up to support your house, support your spouse, and support your family, even if it's something that traditionally a man or a woman wouldn't do. But if you can get it done, why not just knock it out? That's kind of how I approach it.
Yeah, I think people just need to be more open about being flexible with roles when it comes to your household. It looks different on some days versus months where one way works and then it may change and then another way works, right? So just figuring that out on a day-to-day basis.
And that's why communication is so important. And we are a work in progress because, there are times when I know I can communicate with you better, and there are times I feel like you could communicate with me better. But when it comes to certain chores around the house,
This has made me think of something.
yeah, yeah,
Like one last week you made a comment. You said you need to learn how to fix stuff around the house. And so to me that screamed like I'm tired of fixing things around the
yes, that's
house.
exactly what it meant.
Right. So instead of saying, "Hey babe, I'm tired of fixing stuff. Can you learn?" Or, but for me, like, how realistic is it for me to go up under the sink and learn some plumbing issue? I'm pretty sure I could. I'm very smart. But it was like your approach because you were frustrated about having to fix a bunch of stuff that broke. It's like you need to, and then you say, "Oh, y'all women want equal opportunity," and it's just like I
Equal
never
rights.
equal rights. I never, I never said that. Like I appreciate my man doing manly things, like fixing things around the house, taking the garbage out, uh, repairing stuff. Like I appreciate you for doing that, and I think that you take pride in that too. So for you to dish that off to me, it was just more of like a frustration
And this is
and
where,
not necessarily a role that needs to be fulfilled on a woman's end.
yeah, I agree. And also, like I talked about with the communication piece, I think this is where sometimes we assume that our partner should know what we're thinking, right? And you see me doing all this fixing around the house. There's the garage broke, and the dishwasher broke, and the refrigerator stopped making ice, and the air conditioning would only work either upstairs or downstairs, but not both at the same time. And I'm over here trying to either fix it or pay for it, and it's like, oh my god, I'm overwhelmed.
And my
Like,
solution is I'll just pay for it. I'm not about to do it. Let me know how much and I'll just give you half. Problem solved. Just like you're
oh, did
like,
y'all hear that?
"Oh,
She will give me half.
cooking and cleaning." Like I'm beyond the point where I'm about to clean this big ass house by myself. Like I outsource that and I'm happy to say that
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not
not a
mad at you.
tired mom that's scrubbing these toilets and cleaning these showers and bedrooms, folding laundry. I have a housekeeper for that.
Yeah, so a lot of
And
conflict.
I'll still clean, obviously, but the deep cleaning.
Yeah, and a lot of conflict in marriage comes from unspoken expectations, right? Because a lot of
H-
times we want our partner to read our mind.
Hence my example that I just made
I
up.
know, and so I'm speaking to it
Not made up,
to
that I just
where
mentioned.
I think it's important for both parties in a relationship to have enough perspective to say, you know what, I'm frustrated
Hmm.
and I need to communicate in a way that's going to allow my partner to receive the message
Right.
versus you just assuming they can read your mind. And when they don't read your mind, you're frustrated, right? And when you get frustrated, you start having resentment, and that resentment builds up over time, and then it just eventually explodes. And it's all these little things that you never solved from a
Hmm.
communication standpoint. And traditional marriage will force you sometimes to make you think that your partner should be doing something that they
Mm.
probably just don't feel like doing. And if you communicate that,
Or don't know that they are supposed to be doing it that way.
absolutely.
Yeah. And also communicating the expectation with your modern family dynamics in the moment look different. So, for example, when I was in school, that dynamic was completely different. You were the sole provider, taking care of the kids. I wasn't working, I was in school, right? And then on the flip side, when you weren't working, I was working and you were doing stuff around the house. So it also, to me, is about how comfortable you are in your role in your relationship to say, I don't mind serving my husband, or I don't mind washing dishes and folding laundry as a man, right? Because it doesn't take away from you being a man. It's just the role that you have to play.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And Research from the Pew Research Center talks about marriages that have flexibility in role responsibility report higher satisfaction rates,
Hmm.
right? So when couples have the flexibility to support their spouse, to learn a new skill to support their spouse, they report uh, that they're happier and more satisfied as a couple.
That makes sense. And
Yeah.
I also have a study published by the American Psychological Association shows that unresolved role expectations are a major source of marital conflict.
Wow. So this isn't really about traditional roles versus untraditional roles. This is really about a commitment to teamwork. And I know that sometimes those type of statements can sound kind of corny or cliche, but
Hmm.
the reality is you're spending time with this person every day, right? So it's important to communicate with them in a way that's going to allow them to feel supported in the household.
Just being intentional
Yeah.
really is what it's coming down to. All right. So I think in general, we're focused more on teamwork and less on titles, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Because titles never really, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think titles never really, titles aren't as important as the work you do to support your significant other.
I agree. But if you're looking, I'm just going to take a step outside. Like if I were not married, I would have a different answer for that because I think,
That's a great point.
yeah, your title doesn't matter when you're in a marriage. But if I wasn't married, I would definitely not be doing the stuff that I'm doing
Well, like what?
just as if I was married and but not being
Oh,
married,
okay.
right?
Yeah.
So that's just a different mindset. Like, and I know that's going to open up a whole nother conversation about women. So do I play the role as if I want to be a wife, but I'm not a wife? And having that my man have that expectation of me, but then he's not willing to marry me,
Mm.
where does that could feel a little different. What are your thoughts?
Can you say
You know
that?
what I'm saying? So it's like you said focus less on titles and more on teamwork,
Yeah.
right? As a married couple, that works.
Yeah,
That works for us.
for sure.
But for someone watching this who is not married, let's say a single woman who is dating a man,
Yep.
what is your input on should she have or be in that role or play that role as if she wants to be a wife? Because I've heard people say, if you want to be a wife, you got to act like a wife.
Yeah.
But that's really not fair because if you have that expectation, then she does too. Like, well, if I'm going to be playing this role as a wife and I'm serving you and I'm making sure you have everything you need, but yet you're not marrying me, or maybe there's a thought there, or at least communication of some sort, you have to kind of know. But what are your thoughts on that? A woman acting, or even a man, from your perspective, providing or doing what a husband is supposed to do without being a husband to that woman yet?
Yeah, the actual proposal takes time, right? And if you want to be married, I wholeheartedly feel like you should act like a wife. If you want to be married as a husband, you should wholeheartedly act like a husband. It's important because you're not just going to turn it on once
Right.
somebody proposes and you walk down the aisle. Then all of a sudden you're going to start cooking for them and cleaning for them and having their back. If you see a future with someone, if you see a future with someone and you feel like this is your person, you should absolutely act like a husband or wife and do the things that you will require of them for you when you become their spouse
Hmm.
so that you can make sure that um, you can see what that future would look like, right? One of the things you did consistently was um, you made my place. Even when, like, if we go somewhere, even when we went to your sister's house, the day at church, when we were still starting to date, right? You acted like a wife early, and I didn't propose until after 5 years, right? And I was getting pressure from your mom and other people, like you need to marry her, and I
Yeah.
knew I was going to marry you, but it was going to be when I felt like I wanted to propose. So
Yeah. I mean, there was a little conflict in my head too. Like, I'm doing all of this and we're not even married. So I can see how it could be we're fixated on that title, but it is still about teamwork until you get
100%.
to that point. So that's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, I think I totally agree.
So just on that topic, build your version of your marriage goes to the point that we just made about acting like a wife or acting like a husband. That's like your version. However you want to see your marriage, you kind of work on that.
And honor tradition if it serves you,
Mm-hmm.
right? If an old school traditional marriage works for you, we fully support that 100%. But if it doesn't, it's important to have a conversation with your significant other to understand what the expectations are, and then you just move accordingly.
What is a traditional marriage, though?
Traditional, as in the husband goes to work,
Oh, okay.
the wife stays home. That historically in America, that has been what the tradition has been. Obviously, over the past 20 plus years, women have been going to work more consistently, right? But and and when I say tradition, I think that's a great question because I don't envision a lot of women staying home nowadays, especially with how expensive the world is, unless the husband is just,
I think it's been kind of like a cycle. Like it started that way to me,
yeah,
and then over time, women, with women's rights and wanting to be more in the workforce and being more independent, women going out and doing their thing. But now I think because the economy has changed and the cost of living
yeah,
is just astronomical. Childcare is super expensive. So I think it kind of forces families to like reevaluate
yeah,
those roles.
for
And
sure.
now more women, I think, are staying home. I'll actually have to do some research on this and I'll probably have some answers on a later episode. But staying home and taking care of kids, homeschooling is more of an option now with not wanting your kids to be in school for whatever reason or feeling like you want to take that power back to educate your kids on your own, more time, more flexibility, whatever it is. I think more men are staying home or even men. And then also the workforce has changed where people can work from home now after COVID. So that completely changed how a traditional household looks, right? So
100%.
I think it just depends on where you are in your circumstances, your financial situation, what you're able to do, and what that looks like ideally for you as a couple and a family.
So here's some homework for you this week.
Have an honest conversation with your spouse about expectations that you're holding on to, and really just be honest. And, you know, like I did, like, what is your expectation? Like, do you really expect me to start fixing stuff around here? I'm
No,
curious.
no, I don't.
Okay.
You were right. I was frustrated. I'm human. Don't judge me. But yes, you were right. I don't expect you to start fixing stuff. I barely know how to fix the stuff. Right. And so part of my frustration is, I mean, I'm starting to find the joy in it and learning how to fix stuff around the house. And yes, I could just outsource it and pay for it. But
Mm.
right, part of being a man is just trying to figure it out. And if I can't, then I'll pay for it. So I think that's important. So no, I don't expect you to start fixing stuff, but I do think it's important to have a conversation with your spouse about what their expectations of you are
Hmm.
around the house, and then see if you can meet those expectations. And if you can't, how can you meet in the middle to ensure that everybody feels seen, heard, and valued in the marriage?
Hmm. And what is really important, and it's not about titles, it's not about traditional versus modern expectations. It's just really what works for you and your family at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if this episode resonated with you, go ahead and follow the YouTube channel, share this episode, and join our school community because we're looking to build a community of people who are focused on family, focused on their future, and want to do some amazing things in the world.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of the Family Flex podcast. Peace.
Peace.